All right. Welcome to the Daily Faded. I'm the Hetz. I'm your host, and we are here to get faded and talk politics. And what a big night in politics it is. Super Tuesday, all kinds of madness going on. It's not quite what I was expecting for Super Tuesday, not quite what I was hoping. Uh, but it is what it is. So I don't know how long this live stream is going to go tonight, because like everyone else, I want to go watch the results. But we do have certain results so far. Biden has won a bunch of states. Hold on a second, because before I tell you the states that Biden has won, all right. So Biden has won Alabama, Arkansas, Minnesota. That's a big disappointment. North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Virginia. He looks likely to win Massachusetts. Maine is too close to call. Bernie has won Colorado, Utah, and Vermont. He's ahead in Texas by 5 points, with 26% of the districts reporting. And we are waiting for results from California. Of course, results from California are probably going to be a mess because things did not go as well in California as we. Let's see here. The Sanders campaign actually asked a Los Angeles County judge to keep the polling places open for 2 extra hours because of widespread reports of voting machine problems and long lines. So who knows? Last in 2016, I think it took 30 days for the full California count to come in. So who knows when we'll have a full count on California? Hopefully, we will get a call on the race tonight, but we may not know the full results from California for a long time. So far, according to the New York Times, Biden has won about 110 delegates, and I had that note written down someplace, but I seem to have lost it. And Bernie had won about 55 delegates. That math could change dramatically with the win in Texas and a win in California for Bernie. So I gotta say, I was wrong about a couple of things. I was wrong about. I was overconfident on Saturday, to be sure, but I think that we got some kung fu that happened here over the last 48 hours that was not quite what we were planning on. We were not expecting 3 people to drop out between South Carolina and Super Tuesday. We were not expecting for Biden to get these endorsements from Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar and Beto O'Rourke at the last minute. Luckily, Bernie still seems to be winning Texas, despite Beto O'Rourke endorsing Biden. And again, I think that has to do with the amazing Latino outreach that the Sanders campaign has been doing, although I noticed the margin in Texas just shrunk to 4.6, according to the New York Times. They really pulled a kung fu move, and I was mistaken last night. I will try to always admit when I get something wrong. It looks like it wasn't the donut edge, and we haven't had a direct report of Obama speaking to Klobuchar, but Obama's fingerprints are all over it, and it looked like they said, okay, we got a boost from South Carolina. Now we got to get all the moderates out of the race and coalesce behind Joe Biden to beat Bernie Sanders. And they've had a very good night toward that end. That said, we don't know what the delegate layout Washington Post is reporting Sanders is leading in California, according to the exit polls. So that's good. And Bernie just tweeted, if you're in line to vote, stay in line to vote. Obama establishment did a suplex on the Bernie Sanders campaign over the last 48 hours, and it was effective. And I think a big part of it is that they won the media narrative. MSNBC and CNN were talking all about Joe's momentum and all of Joe's endorsements and everything going right for Joe Biden. And I think that definitely helped him. At the end of the day, who gets the votes is the one who wins. So those of us who support Bernie can cry foul about things all we want, but but that doesn't necessarily change anything. Clearly, Minnesota was relatively close. So clearly Klobuchar dropping out really, that looked like a state that Bernie could have won. Something that's really interesting is CNN reported that the Persist PAC, which is the super PAC that's backing Elizabeth Warren, does not have any ad spending after Super Tuesday. So it looks very much like, hold on one second. It's looking very much like that super PAC was just spending to derail Bernie. That was their entire purpose. And maybe that had an effect. I don't know. Again, there's always so many different factors at play that it's impossible to know. I think it's impossible to know what factors weighed in the most. But let's see, what else did I have here for notes? I have to admit, it was a little disheartening watching the results come in with Biden making such early big wins, because I just don't think Joe Biden can beat Donald Trump. I'll just lay my cards on the table. I think he can do it. I think he's a walking gaffe, and Donald Trump is going to attack him viciously and mock him for being out of step and incapable of doing the job, which is a ridiculous irony because Donald Trump is incapable of doing the job and Donald Trump is completely out of step. So for him to fight that kind of a campaign against Joe Biden. But some compilation videos were going around on Twitter just out, and you see the lies juxtaposed with the truth of the matter, which they did very well in these videos. You just go, how can this guy possibly be the candidate for the Democratic Party? And I do feel like if Joe Biden becomes the Democratic nominee, and I am sure giving up on Bernie Sanders and on our movement. But if Biden were to become the nominee, like I said, I think that pretty much guarantees a Trump victory. Even if, assuming Biden wins a plurality of the votes and has the right to be the nominee because he wins a plurality, and I'll be consistent on that, whoever gets the most votes should be the nominee. By the way, hit the like button if you would be so kind. Thank you for joining this live stream on this extremely important night where we're going to talk about politics and smoke a little bit of weed. But you know, um, yeah, I just don't think Joe Biden's a strong general election candidate. I don't think he stands for anything in particular. Um, I don't think he doesn't have a good climate plan. Oh, what I was going to say is, whether it's through malice or just being disheartened, the young people who are so excited about Bernie Sanders, I don't think they're going to show up to vote for Joe Biden. And I don't know that it will be malice. I don't know it'll be like, Bernie or bust that leads into it, but just the feeling that, well, we weren't able to do it and I'm not going to get any change from Joe Biden. So maybe I won't vote. I'm not saying that's me. I'm saying that I think that that is likely to happen with a lot of people out there if the nomination goes to Biden, which I sincerely hope it will not. Um, but yeah, I can't say it enough. This combination of getting these people to drop out and getting all of these endorsements um, for Biden, and it wasn't just Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar endorsing. Obviously, it was Jim Clyburn right before South Carolina. It was Terry McAuliffe right after South Carolina, which meant a lot to Virginia. And Joe Biden won big in Virginia tonight. And, we shouldn't be too surprised that he won Virginia. I mean, a big voting bloc in Virginia is the professional elite class from Washington. And that's a group of people who, are not going to want to vote for Bernie Sanders. They're going to want to vote for a Washington insider like Joe Biden. Um, so, yeah, I mean, can you imagine Joe Biden? I can't even. I just don't know. The image of a president sneaking up behind someone and sniffing their hair is as creepy as any crazy images that we've gotten out of the Trump presidency. I will say, excuse me, I did a video a little bit earlier in the day today where I talked about Bernie wins close elections. He won mayor of Burlington, Vermont. I think he said it was 30 years ago today or something like that. He won that by 10 votes. So this was always going to be a hard fight, and it was looking really good in the polls just a week ago for Bernie. But the campaign has shifted, and it's going to be a slog. And not knowing the results for Texas or California, it's impossible to know who's going to have the most delegates coming out of tonight. But going into tonight, Biden was the delegate leader. So even if it's a wash, Biden's going to be the front runner tomorrow morning. It arguably is the front runner now. Um, but it's just impossible to know how big an impact California is going to have, and how well Bernie's going to do, because with these numbers that we've seen tonight, it could be that Bernie's not going to do as well in California as a lot of us have been hoping. Um, we just don't know. Um, it was interesting on the Today Show this morning. Um, Amy Klobuchar was asked by Savannah Guthrie whether members of the Democratic mainstream were trying to collectively crush Bernie Sanders and his movement. And Amy Klobuchar said she did not see herself, Pete Buttigieg, or Beto O'Rourke, all of whom endorsed Joe Biden on Monday, as part of the Democratic establishment. I have bad news for you, Amy Klobuchar. You all three were establishment candidates taking money from establishment campaign contributors, and so you're wrong about that. I thought it was interesting. Saw Bloomberg spoke about Buttigieg and Klobuchar leaving the race. And he's such a condescending, narcissistic prick. He said they behaved themselves well during the campaign, which I thought, God, that's so patriarchal and demeaning, and just a despicable way to talk about your supposed peers, who are doing something pretty amazing, running for president, and you say they behaved themselves. So I thought that was shitty. Um, and now we have the question of Elizabeth Warren. And what is Elizabeth Warren all about? And what is Elizabeth Warren doing? Now that her super PAC is going to stop spending money starting tomorrow, is she going to stay in the race tomorrow? If Elizabeth Warren supporters had gone to Bernie Sanders, Bernie would have won Massachusetts tonight. He would probably be winning in Maine right now, which was too close to call last time I checked. Yep. They called Massachusetts for Joe Biden. So that's a state. Um, last night in LA, Elizabeth Warren said, no matter how many Washington insiders tell you to support him, nominating a fellow Washington insider will not meet this moment, she told a crowd. She stated that her delegates will not go to Joe Biden at the convention. And I didn't know what to make of that, because she's dissed Bernie Sanders so hard so many times now. She's dissed Bloomberg, and now she's just dissed Biden last night. I don't know where she's headed. I don't know where she's going with that. So, that's kind of questionable. Look, the best news that's going with this right now is that if it does end up being Joe Biden, it has become Joe Biden. They've coalesced behind Joe Biden. One thing about Joe Biden is he's really good at losing elections. He lost terribly in his first two presidential runs, and there's still a lot of race to go between now and the end. So there's a lot of room for Joe Biden to screw up. And if the media will actually report honestly on who this guy is, maybe Bernie can win the plurality. Of course, then we have to deal with the convention and superdelegates. And just the thought of that is too depressing, frankly, for me even to go on. So California primary has been won by Bernie Sanders. The LA Times has called it. So that's good. That's very good. And they have him up by 14 points in the New York Times. So faded. And make sure you hit subscribe and hit like and hit notifications. And follow me at @the_Hetz on Twitter. And we will be back tomorrow night with more cannabis and politics. Thanks a lot.